Chapter 11. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Kindness. Maybe. Xiao Xian was completely unaware of how her mother-in-law had thrown her temper. She herself had not finished sorting her dowries yet, and was entangled in this errand again. However, when they were having lunch, Xiao Xian noticed that there was some strange expression on her sister-in-law's face, especially when she was facing mother-in-law. She was trying to avoid her eyes. That made her feel quite surprised. She was wondering if there was anything that happened between mother-in-law and sister-in-law when she had not been around. But she was not going to ask them about the matter, after all. Therefore, she just pretended as if she hadn't noticed anything, and still spoke with her mother-in-law and sister-in-law with a smile. Thanks to her conversation with both of them, Ms. Fong and Ms. Su suddenly seemed to have gotten out of the awkward air, for some reason. Ms. Su could not help but feel more assured. Ms. Fong, however, was still wearing a cold look. Yet inside her heart, she started to like Xiao Xian more and more, thinking that it had been the correct decision to have gotten a daughter-in-law like this. As for Ms. Su, she was a person with a heavy heart, and loved to split hairs. She tended to turn a deaf ear to any kind of persuasion. In the past, she would have shared some of her thoughts, but after years of living here, she was not bothered to say anything like that anymore. Her husband was honest and devoted to his parents, and Ms. Su, despite her heavy mind, was never bold enough to cause any fuss. Well, it would always be better, if the atmosphere at home could be more bustling. Farmers' families attached more importance to breakfast and dinner. When they were well fed at breakfast, they could go out and do labor work with more strength. After they were done with a day's work, they would treat themselves a better dinner. As for lunch, that was the meal they would eat least properly. At lunch today, the dishes were porridge with red beans, properly dense, served with a few pickles. It was enough for them. After 2 meals, Xiao Yunduan found that Xiao Xian did not show any disdain towards the food served at home. And it seemed that Xiao Xian had not even shown any disdain towards anything at home either. Honestly speaking, Xiao Yunduan was very surprised by this behavior of hers, and suddenly, he felt somehow guilty. He had not thought that she would be this good. He started to believe that he must have misjudged her somehow. Since she was behaving so cooperatively, he was wondering if he should offer some kindness. After all, she was a newcomer to the Xiao family, and might feel a bit restrained and unaccustomed to the surroundings. However, Xiao Yunduan did not feel like making the offer first. After all, Xiao Xian had annoyed him badly first. He was in the middle of his confused thoughts, absently staring at Xiao Xian for a long while before he realized that. Xiao Xian spotted his stare and chuckled. Then she approached him and said in a low voice, smilingly, "Hey, anything you would like to tell me, darling?" Xiao Yunduan felt as if he had been caught red-handed. He replied calmly as he withdrew his look. "Nothing. It is just that, you are new here, and you can tell me anything, if you feel that you are in trouble." Xiao Xian blinked and showed a smile. "Sure." Xiao Yunduan was startled, as his heart skipped 2 beats forward at this moment. He had thought that she would counter him again, but when he, unexpectedly, heard this word spoken in a sweet, girlish voice, he almost did not know what he ought to do. He avoided looking at her out of nervousness and said, "Okay then, I have to go." Xiao Xian nodded, trying hard to hold her laughter as she replied in an even sweeter voice. "Okay, take care, darling." Xiao Yunduan dashed off as if he were escaping from something. Seeing the way he left, Xiao Xian believed that this man was running away in embarrassment. She burst out laughing with a bent back. This man was so funny. Ha ha ha. For one moment, she felt that her mood was elevated. Humming a song, she turned around and continued with her task of sorting her dowries. There were many kinds of things lying around which had been exaggeratingly packed, many of which she had yet to sort out. At around 4 in the afternoon, Xiao Xiaoqi came home from somewhere, covered with mud and grass. Even the straw shoes were filled with dirt. Chapter 12. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Sister.in.law robbed, but, despite the dirty look, he had 2 wild roosters in his hands, both alive. Mom, Mom. 5th Sister.in.law. Look at the wild roosters I have caught. Xiao Xiaoqi smiled brightly, as he raised the wild roosters in his hands, which looked very beautiful with the colorful feathers. Xiao Xian, who had been done with dowries. Sorting, was in the middle of chit-chatting with Ms. Fong whilst babysitting some children. Xiao Xian's eyes brightened when she saw that. She praised him constantly with surprise on her face. Wow, you are so excellent, Qi. You have caught the wild roosters alive. Xiao Xian was speaking out of her heart, since it was not something she had seen before. Xiao Xiaoqi wasn't so familiar with his 5th Sister.in.law, so he gave a small smile as he was praised and said in a bashful voice, I did not catch it exactly, it was the trap that did the job. Xiao Xian continued with her praise and smiled. That is equally excellent. Ms. Fong was also glad. She said with a bright smile, that is true. Qi loves traveling into the mountains and often brings us some wild animals. He is so good at it. Oh man, we don't have to kill any roosters tonight for dinner, when we already have these 2. We can spare the 2 roosters at home. Good, this is really good. Xiao Xian echoed her words. She again praised Xiao Xiaoqi and asked him about how exactly he hunted the animals. They were soon in a heated conversation with each other. As Xiao Xian was listening to the tale so carefully, Ms. Fong felt so pleased sitting next to them. Ms. Fong was truly happy. The events did make her feel pleased, for real. Xiao Xian was a newly wedded bride, and was supposed to have a family reunion dinner with all the 3 children of the old master in the family. Xiao Xian was going to meet the 2nd and the 3rd families for dinner this very night. It was also a welcome dinner for the newly wedding bride. So there would be a lot of food served. When Ms. Fong thought of how she would have had to kill roosters for the 2nd and the 3rd section of the family, she felt her heart aching, since they were all very greedy people. Ms. Fong had originally planned to serve 2 pieces of meat, 1 fried fish and 1 huge bowl of unserved chicken for the reunion dinner tonight, which had been the leftovers from the wedding the day before, when the banquets were filled with dishes. However, the Sisters.in.law of the 2nd and the 3rd section of the family had stolen all of those remainders away, before she could realize. But for the wedding that took place the day before, she would have had a row with them. As she thought that she had to kill the well-fed roosters to serve them this very night, she felt even more distressed. Unfortunately, it was a dinner to show her care to the newly wedded daughter.in.law, so she was going to kill the roosters, no matter how much that would hurt her heart. However, her youngest son caught 2 wild roosters today, instead. These 2 wild roosters looked very well fed, which would save her from killing any more roosters this evening. That was why Ms. Fong felt extremely pleased. After they exchanged a few words, Ms. Fong believed that it was time to get water boiled so as to kill the wild roosters in the kitchen, seeing that the dinner time was approaching. Xiao Xian offered to help, but Ms. Fong turned her down. She spoke a few nice words about her and Xiao Xian dropped the offer, eventually. Xiao Xian returned to her room and felt bored, thinking that she should not go on like this anymore. She should pick up some skills about making the sauce or anything, so she could kill the time instead of feeling so bored. She was just thinking randomly, when she saw Xiao Taotao entering. Xiao Taotao was startled at the sight of her, and then she started to mumble in panic, with her head lowered. 5th Sister. In law, what is wrong, Taotao? Xiao Xian walked forward and asked concernedly. Why are your eyes so red? Did you cry? What happened? She had to ask what happened to her sister.in.law, who was in such a mess. Hearing what she asked, Xiao Taotao felt even worse. She almost burst out in tears. Fifth sister. In law, the silk. Flower you gave me was robbed away by second sister and fourth sister. I am sorry, fifth sister. In law, I didn't mean to let it get snatched. Chapter 13. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Horrible people. That was the fifth sister. In law's gift to her, but it was stolen away by her cousin within half a day. Xiao Taotao was feeling both sad and guilty. Second sister and fourth sister. Xiao Xian was startled. She was a concubine's daughter. She had one sister who was born by the madam of the family and one younger sister who was born by another concubine. Neither of them were easy to deal with. Hearing what Xiao Taotao said, she understood mostly what was going on. However, these two cousins should belong to the second and the third sections of the family. Moreover, her mother. In law did not look like someone who was easily bullied, nor did this sister. In law of hers look like a timid person. What made these two cousins so wild? How could they be so unreasonable? It is totally irritating. Xiao Taotao felt even worse and a little annoyed too. She pursed her lips. Dad is always defending them. He says that even though we come from 3 different sections, we are still one family and we should get on well with each other. We are the eldest of the family and should take care of everyone. Moreover, we should not be so critical about everything. They are family, anyway, right? Xiao Xian felt speechless. It seemed that such a thing had happened many times. No wonder those two cousins dared to bully Taotao without fearing anything. Her mother. In law might not be an easygoing person, but her father. In law was the man of the family. So no matter how much her mother. In law tried to throw temper and have a row, she could do nothing about the father. In law who was determined and resolute. After venting out her complaints, Xiao Taotao felt slightly better. She could not help but feel that she was much closer to fifth sister. In law at this point. She looked up at her and said, I am sorry not to have defended myself for the silk. Flower, so it was stolen away. I am sorry, fifth sister. In law. Xiao Xian shook her head quickly and said, it is not your fault. It is they who are terrible. She raised her eyebrows. But my gift should not be stolen away so easily. You go and trick them into our yard, and I will help you to get back the silk. Flower. She just could not bear the anger that her gift to her sister. In law was pulled away, especially when her sister. In law came to share her grievances with tears in her eyes. Xiao Taotao was surprised and sounded hesitant. That doesn't seem right. What if father knows about it? What if? Xiao Xian consoled her. Father is a reasonable person too, right? That is the gift I gave you, and it should not be snatched away by other people. It would sound really unreasonable, right? Obviously, her father. In law was an honest person, the eldest brother who tried to bear all responsibilities. But she was a member of the eldest section, and now that the people from the second and the third section had developed the habit of stealing and robbing stuff, they would definitely turn to her in the near future. She was not only helping her sister. In law, but also clearing the path for herself in future life. This was something she was going to get involved in and solve. Hearing her words, Xiao Taotao thought for a while and nodded hesitantly. Fifth sister. In law is right, and it sounds reasonable too. But I am not sure if they will return the silk. Flower anyway. Xiao Xian smiled. We can talk to them in a nice way, and I believe that they will be able to return the silk. Flower. Let's have a try anyway, okay? Although Xiao Taotao did not believe her words, she truly missed her silk. Flower, and was angry too. So, with a little conviction, she nodded. Yes, you are right, fifth sister. In law. I will get them here now. Soon, Xiao Taotao came with her cousins Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji. Bo Xiao Xian turned to them as she was in the yard, smilingly. The girls were startled, and after a while, they realized that this must be the wife whom their cousin had married the day before. Chapter 14. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Xiao Xian sees it through. Xiao Xian looked very pretty, and she was the daughter of the county magistrate. The soul, at this moment, had been changed, so by this point, she looked confident, calm, presenting an air of dignity. Both Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji instantly showed some fear. Hi, fifth sister. Law, greetings. Fifth sister. Law, Xiao Meiling was 15 years old, an age when girls loved to dress up well. She could not help but size up Xiao Xian on the sly. Seeing how she was dressed and what she was wearing, she could not help but show some greed. Same went for Xiao Xiaoji. She couldn't help but think of how her mother talked to her sixth brother about how lucky their fifth brother was, that he ran into the daughter of the county magistrate and saved her. Her mother wished that it was her own son who had gotten involved in the incident. If that had happened, then this fifth sister. Law would have been sixth sister. Law on her side. In this way, they would have become rich too, and her own sixth brother would have had a promising future. As she was thinking, Xiao Xiaoji could not help but place her eyes upon the beautiful hairpin on Xiao Xian's head, thinking that if this woman were her own sister. Law, then she would definitely have been able to ask her for that hairpin in a fair and open way. Suddenly, an idea flashed across her head. She could ask her uncle for help. Uncle would definitely say yes to her request. If her uncle could help her, fifth sister. Law would definitely have to obey his order, otherwise she would be considered as a woman without filial piety. Xiao Xiaoji could not help but feel cheerful, and involuntarily showed a look of joy. Xiao Xian had been sizing up these two girls, who were too young to hide their inner feelings. So, Xiao Xian had a good idea of what they truly were thinking. Suddenly, she felt disgust arising inside her head. On the other hand, she felt lucky that the eldest section of the Xiao family was not like this. She replied to them with a smile and said, "You are the two cousins from the second and the third section of the family, aren't you?" Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji nodded. "Yes, we are." Xiao Xian glanced over their heads. These two cousins were getting on well with each other, weren't they? Tao Tao's two silk flowers were right on top of their heads, one for each. Xiao Xian took a step forward and removed the silk flowers off their heads and said with a smile, "Aren't these the gifts I gave to Tao Tao? Tao Tao, you are so nice to your cousins, even lending the flowers to your cousins. Tao Tao, I gave the gifts to you, you can let your cousins wear them for a while, but do remember to keep them well, okay? They are my gifts to you." Xiao Tao Tao got so happy and took the silk flowers, nodding with a smiling face. "Thank you fifth sister. Law, I will definitely keep the gifts well." She swore that she was not going to wear the silk flowers in front of them. She was going to put them on at her own home, or just in the yard, not when she was out. Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji were dumbfounded. Only now did they realize what happened. They exchanged a look between themselves, and their faces started to sink. They did not know Xiao Xian well, so they did not dare to do anything to her. But they could show a bad look to Xiao Tao Tao instead. "Tao Tao, how can you be like this? Didn't you say that you gave the silk flowers to us as a gift? You are a liar, sister, I am going to tell uncle about this." Xiao Xian turned speechless. This justice-filled tone would have generated a misunderstanding towards Tao Tao, if the truth had not been known to her earlier. Xiao Tao Tao's face flushed as she argued. "I didn't give them to you as the gift, you took them on your own." Xiao Meiling said, "But you didn't say no, right? What do you mean by taking them back now?" Xiao Xiaoji spat out. "Bah, you are shameless." Xiao Tao Tao was annoyed. "You are the shameless one." However, that was what Xiao Meiling had been waiting to hear. Chapter 15. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Fifth sister. Law. That was exactly what Xiao Meiling was waiting to hear. She went forward and was about to slap Xiao Tao Tao, while cursing seriously. "You damn girl, how dare you curse me?" Xiao Xian, who saw that they were at the edge of starting a fight, stopped them instantly and said, what are you doing? Don't hit people, just talk. Xiao Meiling, who was both annoyed, ashamed and angry, cried loudly. Ah, fifth sister. Law is hitting me, she is hitting me. Xiao Xian, this huge chaos was heard by Ms. Fang, who rushed out and snapped. What are you two doing again, Meiling and Xiaoji? Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji, who had never taken Ms. Fang's family as someone important since their eldest uncle always spoiled them, got a bit frightened by Ms. Fang at the moment. They understood that Ms. Fang was a fierce lady, who had even gotten into a fight with their mother before. But it was Ms. Fang's merit of being so fierce, otherwise the other members of the family would have stolen everything away from their family. And Ms. Fang and her children might have been fed on grains only. Hearing how her mother-in-law snapped at the cousins, Xiao Xian smiled inwardly and could not help but praise her mother-in-law. Mom, here is how it happened. Xiao Xian took a step forward and recounted the whole story in a brief manner. Ms. Fang's face sank as she asked Xiao Taotao. Is this what really happened? Xiao Taotao nodded, feeling wronged. Ms. Fang threw a why-not-do-something look at her own daughter and said nothing. What else could she say? Her husband kept defending those annoying family members and she was the only one who dared to talk back to him. Their children did not dare to say a thing at all. That was why after a long while, those cousins found her children to be easy targets to bully. Ms. Fang would not spoil Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji. She looked serious and said, Taotao told you that it was not a gift, it was just a loan. What are you making a fuss here for? Just get your mother to buy the stuff you want. You aren't young girls anymore, and you are still so unreasonable. You will have trouble in the future if you continue like this. Stop making a fuss here. Xiao Xiaoji shed tears and mumbled in a small tone. You are being partial to third cousin. She gave it to us as a gift, it is her fault. Xiao Xian rolled her eyes inwardly. This girl was turning confounding truth and lies, and blaming Ms. Fang for favoring her own child. But that was her own child, wasn't it normal that she showed some preference to her? Xiao Taotao said, I didn't. You stole them. Ms. Fang got impatient too. Heard that. Taotao didn't give them to you as gifts. Stop bullying her, or I will go to your mother and seek justice, if you are ever found bullying her again. Well, Ms. Fang was feeling very stressful recently, when her youngest son got married this year. Her daughter was 13 years old and they needed to find a suitor for her soon. If she was a person who was easily bullied and could not counter a thing, what would happen to her when she got married in the future? She had to help her a little. Ms. Su was not reliable. She was a tricky lady who always dodged trouble and never wanted to offend anybody. She could not even tell who had bullied them either. But her son's wife seemed good. She had just come to the family and knew how to defend Taotao. That was why she was going to show her preference clearly. Xiao Meiling and Xiao Meiling had a guilty look on their faces when they were snapped at by Ms. Fang. Xiao Meiling bit her lips, and suddenly, she gave Xiao Xiaoji's arm a pull and ran away. Xiao Taotao became anxious. Mom, second cousin and fourth cousin must be running away to tell second sister-in-law and third sister-in-law about this matter now. Ms. Fang sneered. She can do whatever she likes. I don't care. Chapter 16. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ms. Nio's dislike to Xiao Xian. As for you, keep your back straight. Don't give out your things if you don't want to. Get them back if they dare to rob you of it, or hit them. In this way, they would be scared, otherwise they would get increasingly unreasonable. Also, if you are wronged, tell me, don't just shed tears. The more you cry, the more easily bullied you appear to be. Mom, Xiao Taotao's eyes turned red, as she lowered her head gradually. Ms. Fang became both concerned and annoyed. What are you shedding tears for? I am just teaching you what to do. Xiao Xian patted Xiao Taotao's shoulders slightly and consoled her. Mom, Tao Tao is a kind-hearted girl, much better than those girls. She can rectify her flaw, but gradually, Ms. Fong sighed slightly. She knew that. She had just gotten a bit anxious at that time. She couldn't help but blame her husband, who had messed up everything. Ms. Fong threw a gaze at Xiao Xian with a satisfied look. You are a good girl, you defended Tao Tao. You have to be careful in the future, understand, got it, Mom. As they were talking, Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang came in with Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji, looking furious. Ms. Niu, who had just been mocked by Ms. Fong earlier in the morning, was already filled with anger. And at this moment, she was totally thronged with the feeling of deep hatred and grudge. She stepped in the yard and said with a cold smile, eldest sister. Law, you are indeed on the air right now, aren't you? You have become so different after you have added a good daughter. Law to your home. Are you taking yourself as some madam of some mansion? Meiling addresses you respectfully as aunt, but you are bullying her, your own niece. Then she turned to Xiao Xian and let out a sneer. Honestly, I don't care even if you are the daughter of the emperor. Now, you are the daughter. In law of the Xiao family, so you should show respect to your cousins and sisters. It is your first day here and you are already trying to turn cousins against each other and cause trouble. What is your purpose? Are you trying to turn the family members against each other, because you think that you have been demeaned to become a part of our family? Ms. Mang added more words. I totally agree. Your behavior is way over the top. If you don't want to be married to our family, you can just turn away. Our family is not a very high status family, but we haven't forced you to be part of us. What is your purpose of causing trouble and setting up conspiracies, so that everything suddenly becomes wrong in our family? True. Ms. Niu was so annoyed. She had found Xiao Xian increasingly displeasing to her eye. Her son was studying with Xiao Yunduan in Minghua College in the county, but Xiao Yunduan made it to the cultivated talent, whilst her own son failed because of bad luck. After that, Xiao Yunduan married a rich wife, and with the help of the wife's father, he was going to take off. On the other hand, her son would fall far behind in the family. That was so wrong. Xiao Xian was cursing Ms. Niu as evil inside her heart. This woman might not have any idea of what killing people by stabbing the heart meant, yet that was what Ms. Niu was doing. If her mother. Law had been a confused woman, she would have been convinced by what she heard just now. She surely would have assumed that whatever Xiao Xian did might be related to this reason. That would make her life difficult here. Luckily, her mother. Law was a woman with a clear mind. Xiao Xian was no longer anxious anymore. She was the junior member of the family, a newly wedded wife to one of the sons. So, she did not counter Ms. Niu at the moment. Instead, she turned to Ms. Fong with a pitiful look on her face. Ms. Fong squinted at the two women and said, my daughter. Law knows how to defend her sister. In Law one day after she steps into this family. I am really happy about that. You two don't have to worry about our family affairs. Chapter 17. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Not a match with Ms. Fong. Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang threw an angry glare. Ms. Fong smiled again. There is some misunderstanding between the cousins. What are you doing here babbling at my door? Ms. Chiao, tell them what happened. The more they looked down at Xiao Xian, the more Ms. Fong was going to raise her. Ms. Fong had sharp eyes. She could tell that her daughter. Law was capable of dealing with the situation. She had been on her own for years, and now with a helper next to her, she was not going to give up. Okay, Mom. Xiao Xian nodded with a smile and recounted the incident in just a few words. Ms. Fong sneered in satisfaction. Heard that. Just teach your children well. After all, it is never good to be so intimidating. They are girls, okay. Ms. Mang showed a terrible look on her face. This is nonsense. Xiaoji said it differently. Ms. Niu was more clever than Ms. Mang. She glared at Xiao Tao Tao and said, so it is Tao Tao's fault, isn't it? Tao Tao, you gave out presents and said that your cousins bullied you. That is unreasonable. You are not a little girl anymore, don't just lie. Tao Tao was angry. That is not true. Now you are countering the elder in the family. Just look at her, elder sister. In law, you must teach her a good lesson. Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji followed Ms. Niu's lead and kept saying that Xiao Tao Tao gave them the gifts first before regretting it and calling them robbers. Ms. Mang joined them and kept saying bad words about Xiao Tao Tao. All of them combined forces at this moment. Xiao Tao Tao became so anxious that she almost cried. She did not know how to defend herself but kept insisting that it was not like how they were saying it. No, I didn't. It is not true. But her words were so weak that she was completely defeated. Even Ms. Fong turned pale with anger. Xiao Xian said, Tao Tao won't give out those flowers as presents, because they are my gifts to Tao Tao who cherishes them. Also, she likes silk. Flowers and she would not give them out to anyone else. Ms. Niu sorted, rolled her eyes and said, the girls won't have lied. Xiao Xian retorted. Tao Tao won't lie either. You weren't present there. Why do you think Tao Tao was lying? Ms. Fong said coldly, true, I believe my daughter. Xiao Xian added further. Meiling and Xiaoji are not little girls anymore, why don't they understand that they should not accept the gifts from Tao Tao, when they know that those gifts are from me to her? Xiao Meiling countered immediately. Tao Tao did not say that it was a gift to her. Xiao Xian asked her. Why didn't you ask? Xiao Tao Tao said, I did. Xiao Meiling, Ms. Fong said coldly, anything else? Just leave if you don't have anything more to say. You will get no dinner tonight if you keep pestering me. Eat at your own home instead. Both Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang were angry. That was not a reasonable thing to say. Only those who knew how to insist and make a fuss of the matter would be the final winner. But obviously, they could not override Ms. Fong. They neither lost nor won. It was impossible to get back whatever Ms. Fong had taken away. And this Ms. Chiao was even more annoying. She was the daughter of the county magistrate, sharp-tongued and not at all well-behaved. Bah! Oh true, she heard from her son that this daughter was just a concubine's daughter whose mother already died. She was not good at all. But she did have 26 sets of dowries. Ms. Niu was really jealous. Chapter 18 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Talking sense with them. Ms. Niu said ironically, you are really sharp-tongued, niece daughter. In law, so good at talking. But you are a daughter. In law, so I suggest that you should learn how to behave well. Look at Ms. Su, she is a good example for you. Learn from your sister. In law. Xiao Xian did not care at all. She did not show any anger but stared at Ms. Niu who seemed annoyed. She smiled. Thank you, second sister. In law. Ms. Niu got suffocated. Ms. Mang's eyes rolled as she shouted. Honestly, niece daughter. In law, you can't just favor Tao Tao, not us. Shouldn't you be giving Meiling and Xiaoji gifts too? Ms. Niu's eyes brightened too. That was a way to cut in. She snorted sarcastically. True, niece daughter. In law, you are not looking down at us and planning to give us nothing, right? Before Xiao Xian could say something, Ms. Fong countered. Of course not, when Ms. Zhang got married, you gave us no gifts either, right? There is no such rule here at our place, is there? Most of the rural families were poor, and it was already a big thing for a newly wedded bride to give presents to her husband's family, not to every other family member. No one from other families would come and ask for gifts. Ms. Mang mumbled, feeling unconvinced. That is different. Ms. Zhang is poor, but you are the daughter of the county magistrate, you should not be stingy. That is true. Ms. Fang smiled coldly. But they are both daughters.in.law of the Xiao family, and they should do the same thing, shouldn't they? Stop babbling here. These greedy women always thought of tricks to get things for themselves. Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang saw that Ms. Fang were talking fiercely and unreasonably, and that they could get nothing good out of her, so they made a few complaints and left with their daughters. Ms. Fang mumbled. Damn women, Xiao Taotao let out a sigh of relief and smiled brightly. You are excellent, Mom, fifth sister. In.law, you. Ms. Fang poked her forehead. Just watch carefully and learn from your fifth sister. In.law. Xiao Taotao smiled. I got it, Mom. Xiao Xian smiled too. Ms. Fang added. Just leave them alone. They are always shameless. If they dare to trouble you privately, just come to me. Okay, Mother. In.law. Xiao Xian smiled. If they ever come to me again, I will try and talk sense into them. Ms. Fang understood what she meant by talking sense into them. She laughed and nodded happily. Very good, Bedo. Ms. Fang turned around and continued to walk into the kitchen, where she saw Ms. Su craning out her neck around the corner of the wall. Ms. Su got startled, but could not hide fast enough when she was found. She forced a smile as she walked out carefully. Mom, I have just come out of the farmyard. Ms. Fang was aware that she had been watching the show standing in the corner for a very long time. She always hid when something happened. Whenever the other family members came to seek trouble, she always hid away, instead of stepping up and offering help. She knew pretty well what she should do. She was an obedient and down-to-earth person, who kept half of their earnings and gave half to her mother. In.law. She and her husband were not capable people, but they did save some money. She only cared for herself, her husband as well as her children, instead of anyone else. Ms. Fang did not want to reveal her secret. She answered briefly and said calmly, wash your hands and come to help me in the kitchen. Seeing that her mother. In.law did not blame her, Ms. Su nodded and answered yes. Chapter 19. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Unreasonable and wrong ideas. At first, they all assumed that it was the end of this errand. However, when the two families from the second and third sections of the family came around for the dinner, the issue was mentioned once again. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma kept complaining in front of their eldest uncle, not only about Xiao Taotao, but also Xiao Xian. They kept insisting that Xiao Taotao did not show any sisterly love to the cousins and that Xiao Xian was looking down upon them. Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji seemed really saddened, sitting next to them. Ms. Fang and Ms. Su were busy at the kitchen, where Xiao Taotao was giving them a hand. It was only Xiao Yunduan, as well as other junior members of the family, who listened to the narrative with a frown and could not interrupt them. Both second uncle and third uncle were also helping their own family members in a seemingly concerned and kind way. The eldest uncle became so guilty that he kept apologizing and started speaking nice words, whilst throwing a look at Xiao Xian suggesting that she should apologize too. After all, Xiao Xian was his daughter. In.law, and a father. In.law was not in a good position to blame his daughter. In.law directly. Moreover, Xiao Xian was a newly wedded daughter. In.law, and he had no choice but to show her some respect. Xiao Xian understood her father. In.law's hints, but she ignored them deliberately. She truly felt that these people were so morally sick. It was so tiring that her father. In.law could do nothing about it. Eldest uncle became disappointed inwardly and he kept sighing. He was blaming his daughter. In.law inside his heart. Even if she did not understand his hint, she should have heard the complaints. She had looked down upon her sister. In.law and countered the senior members of the family. She should naturally feel ashamed enough to make apologies. What was she thinking? Second uncle said, brother, you should teach your children a lesson. They can't be so unreasonable, right? We are a family. The sixth son of the Xiao family could not help but laugh, after holding his words for a while. Elder uncle, you should ask fifth brother if there is any need to become a scholar, when he can't even teach his wife a good lesson. Saint says that a qualified scholar should be able to rule the family and keep peace in the world, right? The sixth son could not help but glance at Xiao Xian, getting really annoyed inside his heart. Why had it not been him who had saved this girl? Had he married the daughter of the county magistrate, he would have been assured of a promising future. Damn, his fifth brother kept getting good things happening to him and never thought about sharing the fortune with his brother. If his fifth brother had asked him to keep him company the other day, he might have become the candidate for this girl's husband. His brother married the daughter of the county magistrate. What kind of girl should he marry so that he could override him in the future? Eldest uncle did not understand what the sixth son was implying, but he showed a look of admiration towards this boy. Suddenly, he felt that he could give his son a lesson, even if he could not do anything to his daughter. Law. Eldest uncle turned to Xiao Yunduan and said in a displeased voice, "Your sixth brother is right. Yunduan, we should keep peace in our family. Isn't it good that we live in harmony? Tell your wife to say sorry to second and third sister. Law. We are all family members, and it is fair if every girl in the family gets the same thing, including Wan." Wan was only 5 years old, the daughter of the second section of the family. Xiao Xian turned to look at Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan nodded at his father and gave a consoling look at Xiao Xian, asking gently. "Ms. Xiao, can you recount what happened?" Xiao Xian felt that she had been repeating the same thing all the time. But she had no choice but to say the whole thing again. Mom and Tao Tao were both present. You should hear their words, regarding whether I was disrespecting the second and third sister. Law. I am not bold enough to take over the entire blame. Mom also pointed out that when elder sister. Law and second sister. Law first got married to the family, they did not seem to give anyone any presents. So why are you treating me differently? Are you looking down at me, or bullying me, or trying to cause trouble to me in particular? Chapter 20. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ms. Fang's fury eldest uncle was taken aback. So were second uncle and third uncle as well as everyone else apart from Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma. This Ms. Chiao was being so unfriendly to them. Eldest uncle could not utter a single sound. Third uncle had a hot temper. He struck his head and snapped furiously. I am your third uncle, and I can teach you a lesson. What attitude are you holding towards us? We are the senior members of the family. Brother, your daughter. Law is indeed capable, isn't she? She doesn't think we are important at all. True. You are a daughter. Law who doesn't respect senior members of the family. We will file a complaint against you, even when the county magistrate asks about it. Fifth son, what are you staring at? Teach your wife a lesson. Have you read your books in vain? Xiao Xian was about to say something when Xiao Yunduan shook his head at her slightly. I will get my mother here. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma both panicked. They were about to stop him when a cry was heard. Xiao Xian had just taken out her handkerchief and sobbed. This is so unreasonable of you all. You are senior members, and you are bullying me unfairly. Why can't elder sister. Law and second sister. Law do what they want, but not me? Are you all looking down at me? What have I done to irritate you all? Xiao Xian turned around and ran into the kitchen. She was not in a position to argue with them, so she went to fetch her mother. Law instead. Soon Ms. Fang rushed out angrily and snapped at Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma. Shame on you. Have you decided to continue dwelling on this minor thing? My daughter. Law has just been married to our family and you, the so-called senior members, are causing her trouble. You better have no daughter. Law in the future, otherwise I will cause them trouble too. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, just tell me, what has Ms. Chiao done so that she disrespects you all, only because she is not under your charge? You got your daughters to bully my Tao Tao and my daughter.in.law, damn you all. Bah. Eldest uncle's face flushed. He felt that he was humiliated facing the newly wedded daughter.in.law and his siblings' family. So he snapped. Just stop it, Ms. Fong, we are all a family. Ms. Fong, who was feeling so angry and annoyed inwardly, mumbled with a sneer. You think we are all a family, but they don't think we are. Otherwise they would not have caused trouble to our daughter.in.law. You. Eldest uncle got both embarrassed and annoyed. He had not expected this to happen. He had thought that when Ms. Chiao made an apology, the whole thing would just pass. Then nothing like this would have happened. But Ms. Chiao just did not want to give in. She could adjust her behavior as a junior member. She should not have countered the senior members. The whole family should be in harmony. Ms. Ma argued. You should give gifts to everyone, or you give them to no one. Ms. Chiao is just unfair, and we are not to be blamed. True. Ms. Nyo added, thinking that Ms. Ma was being clever for the first time as she hit the key point. Ms. Chiao only gives presents to Tao Tao and Qing, because she looks differently at us two families and doesn't regard us as her own. Xiao Xian blinked. Aren't we already two families? We are not one, isn't that what second sister.in.law said? Of course I prioritize my own family when I have presents. Since there is none left, no one outside the immediate family would get anything.